Hey there, meteorologist JB Singleton. Get you caught up on what's going on across the area this 3 o'clock hour, 3:06 p.m. Watching us live here. We've had a bit of a break in some areas, especially Roanoke and the Allegheny Highlands into the Mountain Empire, Southwest Virginia, and the NRV, where they really needed the break today. But now we're seeing the rain that will be filling back in as we go into the rest of the afternoon, this late afternoon, going into the evening hour. So don't let your guard down. We're going to have multiple waves of rain occurring this evening, going into the night tonight, and continuing into your Friday morning. Unfortunately, the early morning hours of Friday till about 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and then by noon we can finally say goodbye to all of the moisture regardless of where it's at, except for some snow flurries and snow showers in the mountains, and that'll be later on Friday. But in the meantime, we do have that rainfall filling back in. We still have the communication outage in Blacksburg at the National Weather Service there. So using our surrounding radars, we can still see what's going on. And you're going to get a bit of a hole here anyway, but I was a little bit relieved to report not long ago that we did have a bit of a break in the precipitation across West Virginia. You can still see that sliding through. That was because the storms developed down here across eastern Virginia into North Carolina. Now those storms are weakening, and the bigger system is still way off to the west. So if I widen this out, you can see that we're still looking at circulation all the way down here across Dallas and Houston, Texas. And now we're seeing a second surge of moisture moving in from Tennessee and western North Carolina. This will be filling back in from the southwest as we get into the next couple of hours. So by the evening commute, late afternoon commute, the afternoon drive already starting for a lot of folks, the rain will be picking back up. Maybe not quite as high as it was earlier this morning, but still moderate to heavy at times. And some of our model guidance suggesting another 1 to 3 inches of rain's on the way. Most areas probably at least have another 1 to 2 inches of rain on the way before this is all said and done. Numerous flash flood warnings continue now across, again, Henry County, and the National Weather Service put these in effect because they anticipated more rainfall to be moving back in. So I didn't want you to let your guard down and think this was all over with when we had that little bit of a break here. That we do have the rainfall filling back in. You can see it there picking back up now from Asheville, North Carolina into the western North Carolina mountains here. And that's an area I'm listening on the scanner where they've got multiple creeks and streams out of their banks, a lot in the way of debris flows, mudslides, that type thing going on there. And in our part of Virginia, it's happening as well. Same story in southern West Virginia. So it continues to be a very volatile situation out there in terms of the land giving way and there being high water. And I imagine the rivers, I've been watching some of the gauges, are very impressive to look at, and low water areas continuing to flood. The new area of rain that's forming here, and it really never let up, is out here across central North Carolina. I do think the severe threat is over with for a good part of the area, and that includes most of North Carolina as well. Although right now in eastern North Carolina around the Rocky Mount area, you don't want to let your guard down just yet. But they just had some 50-mile-per-hour wind and hail move through Raleigh-Durham. That's now kind of stabilized the atmosphere. So all we're left with now is the heavy rain and flooding concern, but that's plenty enough. And so as we go through Winston-Salem, Greensboro, down 68, coming out of North Carolina into Virginia here, right on the county line, there's a lot of heavy rain. That continues to pick up in intensity around the Winston-Salem area in the Yadkinville and Statesville. And it's this heavy rain that is moving off to the northeast. It looks like this batch is going to probably get you in Martinsville and Henry County once again, and in Danville, where we've already had some stranded vehicles in the city of Danville, 3 miles south of Blair's. We had a mudslide there. We've also got from VDOT reporting several roads closed across the southern half of Pennsylvania County. So we anticipated Southside being hit hard today, and indeed so far they have been, and it's still raining moderately there. They were not, in Danville, you were not able to even catch a break like some of us have been able to, kind of breathe a little sigh of relief earlier today. Now, again, this rain continues to come in from the south and west, not really letting up all that much unless you consider the little lulls that we've been getting here and there. This is a brand new computer model that's just come in. I wanted to share this update with you here. It came in at 18Z, so this is the 18Z run anyway, the 3 p.m. run of the THU. It updates every hour, okay? So this is that line that we've been watching, but Roanoke's right here. See where my mouse is? And then you've got these little spikes here that continue up in terms of rainfall originating from the original thunderstorm source that we had this morning. All it means is that we'll see multiple rounds of rain in through the evening hours, and it picks right back up from where it was this morning by around, it looks like, see, 23, puts us at about 6 p.m. It'll be raining across the entire area just like it was at about 8 o'clock this morning. So by 5, 6 o'clock, just in time, unfortunately, for the evening commute, a lot of roads are going to be impacted by this because now we've already had 2 inches of rain or so, 2 to 3 inches across the area, and now we're going to put another 1 to 3 or 1 or 2 on top of that. I hope no one gets to another 3 inches. That would be bad, but we mentioned that a lot of the model data yesterday supported some areas getting 6 inches of rainfall total. Not really out of the woods completely until early Friday morning. This is stopping you at the midnight hour going into 10 p.m. tonight. This is about 10 to 11 o'clock tonight. You can see very heavy rain right back over Franklin County. And again, it still rains the whole time, but within that, this is a very heavy band here showing up on the models right around 11 o'clock to around midnight or so. Trying to get my times right. And then you can see a bit of a dry slot pushing in behind that. That hopefully will get here, it looks like, after midnight. It looks pretty much the same on all the models, so the confidence in that's a little bit high that we'll start to see that taper off a little bit, all that heavy rain tapering off around midnight. Behind that, the actual heart of the system finally moves in. And since it's coming in at an overnight hour, that's pretty good news because it comes in at the coolest part of the day. It doesn't generate a whole lot of showers and thunderstorms, but we still have sporadic areas of heavier rainfall. But it's more of a scattered to isolated shower kind of a thing as opposed to this whole big huge area of rain like we had this morning. This is at 5 o'clock on Friday, where we'll just have a very widely scattered shower or maybe even a thunderstorm out there. But right now, this is where we're sitting. We're about 1/3 of the way through the system so far, and we still have a lot more rainfall to come. You can see I'm advancing it here. I'm just going to go about hour by hour for you, and we'll go back up to about right now. So this is 3 o'clock. This is 4 o'clock. Over the next hour, you can see how the model's picking up on that rain filling back in. I'd argue this model's still a little bit farther behind. It's been that way all day today. So by 5 o'clock, go to 6 o'clock. 5 to 6, it'll be raining pretty hard across the area. Then 7, 8 o'clock tonight, look at the New River Valley, look at the Roanoke Valley, look at south side there getting heavier rainfall. And then 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. This is the 9 o'clock hour, but let's push that up to 8 because the model's been about an hour behind. 8 o'clock tonight will be probably the heaviest of rain. And what I'm looking at, it takes a while to get out of here, but then it's a sharp clearing line behind that, so that by midnight, this is pretty much only affecting the eastern fringes of our area, which again have been hit in some cases, if you go down toward Danville, the hardest. So Danville, you want to give it till about 1 in the morning. You can start to see that things clear out there, and then we start to see one more band of rain come through, and hopefully this will remain broken as opposed to a solid band coming in around, let's say about 9 in the morning. And then after that, it's just snow flurries in the mountains. This is the high-resolution NAM, and I put this into motion here. This is a different model. So we look at where we are again. Let me get my numbers right here because I'm going off of Z time, and I don't know why the winter throws me off on these times because I can do them good in the summertime. So this will be 4 o'clock, and again, Virginia in our area right around in here, you can see the severe weather down across the South Carolina and Georgia area. That's where it's going to shift instead of being closer to us in terms of storms. Still a lot of heavy rain though. 23Z, 6 o'clock tonight. 7 o'clock tonight, a very similar um, prognostication here by the high-res NAM. And so it looks to me like, yeah, we're still going to see periods of very heavy rainfall. Maybe not quite as heavy as this morning, but again, still occurring. And then, as we saw on the HUR, a bit of a clearing slot here, trying to get sucked in across the Carolinas from the southwest coming across western North Carolina, western South Carolina. Bit of a dry notch. Then you start to see more in the way of those scattered showers and heavier storms that will develop. That could end up being a problem because this NAM high res is suggesting maybe a bit better coverage in those heavier showers and storms, which again would make sense in that the heart of the system doesn't get through here until the morning hours of Friday. Numerous bands of rainfall continue moving through the area and will continue out of the south and from the west. We've got up to 50 road closures in just one county. I believe that was Smith County that I heard from the National Weather Service. Yeah, the emergency manager in Smith County, 50 roads impassable or closed across Smith County. We've got flooding going on in Pulaski County and in Giles County still. Franklin County, pretty much the rivers are high. The water is there on the ditches and in the low spots, but I haven't heard any major issues coming out of Franklin County. I've seen some impressive pictures of higher water and certainly some muddy water. The heart of the heaviest rainfall has been here across Southwest Virginia, the Mountain Empire. Folks ask me, what is the Mountain Empire? Well, you get up toward the coal fields of West Virginia, and that's when you're talking Tazewell, Bland County, areas near I-77 and west of I-77. Clinch River is now flooding on Edgewater and Indian Springs Drive. It's expected to continue going up to crest at about 15 feet, and that would put it at the highest level it's crested at in over 40 years since 1978. Flash flood emergency continues there, and I do have an update I'm going to read to you here that came out not too long ago. Significant flooding continues due to heavy rain in the warned area. Now, the rain let up there on the radar picture, but if I put up the Charleston, West Virginia radar, and again, we are having comm issues. Everybody across the weather enterprise is having communication issues due to the National Weather Service in Blacksburg having phone issues with how they get data. I don't even know if they are able to. I think they're posting a little bit to social media out of Blacksburg, but when that happens, they hand all responsibility off to a neighboring office, and in this case, the National Weather Service in Raleigh is taking care of all these statements. But we've got, let me zoom you back in, rain filling back in across Tazewell County and McDowell County and Mercer County and West Virginia. So you can see there, so I put that in motion. Now we're starting to see those darker greens again. The light green is mainly light rain, so is the light blue. When you start getting into the darker greens on this scale and the yellows and oranges, that's the particularly heavy rain. So it's not really a lot of yellow on here. We don't see that, but we do see any moisture at all being, bad news for that area. It's only going to get, make the situation worse the more it rains. And as I do that, trying to get the right window up here for you. So I'm going to keep it here, put that in motion, and read to you the statement there coming out of Tazewell County. The flash flood emergency remains in effect until, I believe it was 7:30 tonight. Evacuations may begin shortly along the Clinch River, which are going to reach heights not seen since 1978. And that's a bad situation, folks. I mean, when you start talking about, Roanoke, the flood of 85, that's Roanoke's, major historic flood. But when you start talking 1978 in the Tazewell County area, they're getting a lot of flooding there. So, if you have pictures or reports of flooding, or just how much is in your rain gauge, let me know on Twitter, would you, and Facebook. Especially with the radar in Blacksburg being down, it's really hard to get some of these rainfall reports in and get an idea of what's happening absent of pictures and rainfall data. So any amount of information will help us this afternoon, and I pass that along to the National Weather Service offices across the country via Twitter, but in particular, the Blacksburg folks can still see what's going on, I think, through Twitter. And the Raleigh folks I know are watching this as well very carefully, since they're the ones that are issuing all this. I hope the Blacksburg radar comes back soon, before tonight, before the second area of rain gets too established. But really within the next 1 to 2 hours, this rain's going to start to pick back up again. So I guess that's the main point of the update here, is to tell you that rain's moving back in. I didn't want folks thinking, okay, it's tapered off now, it's just light rain. This is a big system, so the rainfall comes back in earnest here over the next 1 to 2 hours, just in time for the evening commute. Hey, remember, turn around, don't drown. Never drive your car into a flooded roadway. A lot of times, you think you know how deep that is, but in all honesty, until you get water on top of it, and you know, a lot of people have tried before and you know, have suffered the consequences. You don't know how. It's hard for us as humans, and just looking out the window and in our brains, figuring out exactly how deep something can be without really going through it ourselves. And I don't want anybody doing that, because it only takes a foot of moving water to take your vehicle down the road with it. And a lot of drowning deaths occur in flash floods. In fact, when we talk about flooding all around the country, it's one of the #1 killers out there. 6 inches of moving water will knock you off your feet and could send you down the water there. So you can see the radar is lighting up even more, and we don't want you out there stuck in this, and for emergency responders having to get to you. You know, I talk about listening to these scanner feeds I've started to add to my office, and I heard, I don't know what county it was out of, but it was somebody who had apparently driven through some water that wasn't an emergency responder. It was a services person, and it was over, I think it was a little bit north of us, but they ended up, I think they were talking about being carried away, and luckily they were okay. But even the folks that have to do that get caught off guard sometimes. It's a very scary thing to be in. I was in Bassett a couple of years ago, and those big rains that came in 2018, and witnessed firsthand a flash flood, and that was terrifying. Somebody was in their car, and I was the first person behind this guy. He was actually coming the second way, so we met. He was going northbound, and I was going southbound, but they were at Bassett Forks, and I think his name was Romeo. I don't remember, but anyway, able to get him to dry. Luckily, he did not die, but his car got swallowed up by water and was swept off the 220 very, very quickly, and that happened back in 2018. Don't think the flooding will be that bad in Bassett Forks this time, but it could be. And again, you're looking at not a lot of disruption from these storms into all of the rain that's falling out there. And sometimes these storms will disrupt the flow, and you won't see as much rain behind them. But in this case, the storm is just that strong. If I remove the radar, you can even see that the water vapor shows those cold cloud tops. Let me get rid of some of the warnings here. Let's see. Take that off. Get rid of this, and that. So there's a view of the satellite. So each one of these areas here in the darker green, that is an enhanced area of lift, where those clouds go up, they blossom out, and they produce all the rain out there. So this loop will be a lot faster now with the radar off, but you can see it continues scooting off to the north and to the east. If you widen the view out quite a bit, we'll let this load. Gives you an idea of what the jet stream is doing. It's going all the way out of California, or north of California, Washington, Oregon, down through the Rockies, dipping all the way down into Mexico, central Mexico, and coming across the Gulf of Mexico in a negatively tilted fashion. So instead of being straight up and down, it's negative tilt. And when it does that, it's able to scoop a lot of moisture up. You get a lot more divergence aloft, and divergence aloft creates lift from below. So you spread the air out here, the air fills it by hydrostatic balance, and you force it up. When you force it up, you get heavy rain, and in situations like today, you get flooding. You can even see that it's connected, the storm system is connected to the subtropical and tropical jet stream down here out across the Pacific Ocean. So it's really just an atmospheric river of moisture that continues hammering us here in the southeast and into our part of Virginia. So it'll get bad again, I'm afraid, for the next several hours this afternoon. Keep it here for